In just 24 hours, three of the internet's most essential services, YouTube, PayPal, and Venmo, suddenly went dark. It was a moment that caught everyone off guard, from casual users to business owners who rely on these platforms every single day. The digital world, usually so reliable and ever-present, seemed to freeze in place, leaving millions scrambling for answers and alternatives. First, YouTube stopped playing videos worldwide. For hours, creators couldn't upload, viewers couldn't watch, and the familiar red play button became a symbol of frustration. People turned to social media to vent, searching for updates and workarounds, but the silence from YouTube was deafening. For many, it was more than just entertainment lost. It was a disruption to learning, work, and even income. Then, digital wallets for millions, PayPal and Venmo, froze, halting payments and online transactions. Suddenly, people couldn't pay for groceries, split bills, or send money to friends and family. Small businesses were left in limbo, unable to process sales or receive payments. The ripple effect was immediate and widespread, highlighting just how much our daily lives depend on these invisible networks. This wasn't a minor glitch, it was a global failure that disrupted daily routines and financial security for millions. Cafes, offices, and homes buzzed with confusion and concern as people realized the outage was far bigger than a simple app crash. News outlets scrambled to cover the unfolding crisis, and experts speculated about the cause. Was it a cyber attack, a technical bug, or something even more sinister? The events of October 15th and 16th were a wake-up call about our deep reliance on a handful of tech giants. For 2 days, the world was forced to confront just how much power these companies hold over our communication, finances, and even our sense of normalcy. The headlines were everywhere, asking tough questions about accountability and resilience in the digital age. This story isn't just about technical failure, it's about the shock and anxiety when the digital tools we depend on vanish. People felt isolated, anxious, and powerless, suddenly cut off from the services that connect them to the world. It was a stark reminder that our digital lives are fragile, and that a single point of failure can have far-reaching consequences. Are we too dependent on these services? What are the risks of concentrating so much of our lives in the hands of a few companies? As we surround ourselves with more devices and apps, we rarely stop to consider what might happen if they all went offline at once. This outage forced us to ask, how prepared are we for a world where the digital infrastructure we trust can suddenly disappear? Let's break down what happened, and what it means for our digital future. As we explore the events and their aftermath, we'll uncover the lessons learned, the vulnerabilities exposed, and the urgent need to rethink how we build and protect the digital world we all depend on. The trouble began quietly, almost unnoticeably at first, as millions of people settled in for a typical evening of streaming, catching up on their favorite creators, or simply unwinding with music videos and vlogs. It was an ordinary Wednesday evening, the kind where families gathered in living rooms, friends texted each other video links, and students took a break from homework to watch something funny online. But on October 15th, something was different. As people across the globe tried to load YouTube, they were met with endless spinning wheels, cryptic error messages, or simply blank, unresponsive screens. The familiar red play button was suddenly out of reach. The outage didn't just stop at YouTube's main site. YouTube Music and YouTube TV, platforms many relied on for entertainment and even live news, were also down. For millions, it felt like a digital blackout. The timing couldn't have been worse. It struck during prime time in the Americas, when screens were aglow in homes, and people were most eager to relax and connect. At first, users assumed the problem was on their end. They rebooted routers, checked their Wi-Fi, and switched devices, hoping for a quick fix. But as the minutes ticked by, it became clear. This was no ordinary glitch. Social media lit up with confusion and frustration. The hashtag, #YoutubeDown, began trending worldwide within minutes, as outage trackers recorded over 800,000 reports in just 1 hour. People shared memes, jokes, and their disbelief at the scale of the outage. The world's largest video platform had gone dark, impacting users on every continent, from students in Asia to families in Europe and night owls in the Americas. The digital silence was truly global. For hours, YouTube's official channels remained eerily silent. No tweets, no status updates, no explanations, just a growing sense of unease as the blackout dragged on. This unprecedented blackout was more than just an inconvenience. It was a warning sign, a prelude to an even more serious disruption that no one saw coming. The world was about to discover just how fragile our digital lives could be. The stage was set for a bigger shock to come. The YouTube outage was more than an inconvenience. It was a global disruption. No device worked. Phones, TVs, computers, all showed the same errors. Students missed online lectures, families lost movie night, and creators lost income as premieres failed. The silence was jarring for a platform that streams billions of hours each month. YouTube isn't just for entertainment, it's a tool for learning, work, and daily life. Mechanics, chefs, teachers, all rely on it for practical knowledge. When it went down, those everyday uses vanished too. The outage revealed just how much we depend on YouTube for more than cat videos. For a few hours, the digital world felt incomplete, and the disruption was only beginning. As the world recovered from YouTube's blackout, a more alarming crisis hit. On Thursday morning, PayPal and Venmo, two of the world's biggest payment platforms, froze. Users couldn't send money, pay bills, or access balances. Error messages replaced transactions. For freelancers, small businesses, and anyone needing to move money, the timing was disastrous. Outage trackers lit up with thousands of reports, confirming a widespread failure. For hours, the digital cash registers of the modern economy were closed. Small businesses lost sales, gig workers waited for pay, and financial anxiety spread. The outage showed just how deeply these platforms are woven into our financial lives. When they failed, the shockwave was immediate and personal. The PayPal and Venmo outage wasn't just inconvenient, it was a crisis for many. People at checkout counters saw payments declined, even with money in their accounts. Small business owners couldn't pay suppliers, parents couldn't send emergency funds. For gig workers and freelancers, the outage cut off their financial lifeline. Social media filled with stories, missed prescriptions, unpaid friends, lost sales. The lack of clear information from the companies only fueled panic. The outage exposed how vulnerable we are when digital wallets fail. We trust these platforms to work 24/7. But when that trust is broken, the impact is real. Many realized they had no backup plan when their digital wallet went empty. The event highlighted a critical weak point in our modern financial habits. As millions of users across the globe suddenly found themselves unable to access their accounts, the response from the tech giants was immediate, but shrouded in ambiguity. The world watched as some of the most powerful names in technology scrambled to address the crisis, yet their public statements were carefully worded, offering little substance. YouTube, PayPal, and Venmo took to social media to acknowledge the widespread issues, but their updates were vague, leaving users with more questions than answers. Instead of transparency, there were generic reassurances and promises that teams were working on it. When services finally returned, the official statement simply declared that everything was back to normal. But for millions affected, there was no explanation of what had gone wrong or how it had been fixed. The silence was deafening. Was it a catastrophic server crash, a hidden software bug, or perhaps something more sinister? The companies offered no insight, fueling speculation and anxiety among users and industry experts alike. With no real information, the public was left to piece together theories, sharing frustrations and confusion online and in person. The lack of answers only deepened the mystery. This kind of opacity is all too common in the tech world. Users are often left feeling ignored, their concerns brushed aside by faceless corporations. For many, the outage was more than an inconvenience. It was a disruption to their daily lives and finances. For those who lost money, missed payments, or wasted precious time, a simple, "it's fixed," doesn't begin to address the real impact. People want accountability, not just restoration. The financial world took notice as well. PayPal's stock dropped nearly 3% in the aftermath, a clear sign that investor confidence had been shaken by the lack of transparency and the scale of the disruption. In contrast, Alphabet, YouTube's parent company, saw little change in its stock price, highlighting the difference between losing access to entertainment and losing access to your money. The refusal of these companies to provide clear answers raises serious questions about their commitment to transparency, trust, and reliability. When the stakes are this high, silence is not an option. Users, left in the dark, demanded real explanations. They wanted to know what happened, why it happened, and what would be done to prevent it in the future. In the end, the lack of clarity only deepened a sense of vulnerability and mistrust, reminding us all how dependent we've become on these silent, powerful systems. YouTube, PayPal, and Venmo aren't just apps, they're utilities of modern life. YouTube is a global classroom, news source, and cultural hub, not just an entertainment site. PayPal and Venmo have revolutionized how we handle money, powering small businesses and daily transactions. Venmo, especially, is the default for a generation, splitting bills, paying rent, and more. Their integration is so deep that even the US Treasury now accepts PayPal and Venmo for donations. Major companies like JetBlue accept them for payments. These platforms are now critical infrastructure. When they fail, the system backs up. Their convenience is a double-edged sword, empowering, but also making us vulnerable. The outages proved these services are no longer novelties, they're necessities. Their failure can bring daily life to a sudden halt. The outages were a wake-up call about our dependence on a few digital giants. We've outsourced communication, entertainment, and finances to a handful of companies. When YouTube or PayPal fail, there's no immediate replacement for billions. The complexity of these systems means glitches are inevitable. Our reliance has crept in so gradually, we barely notice, until it's gone. 10 years ago, a payment app outage was a niche problem. Now it's a crisis for millions. We've forgotten the value of analog backups, like cash or physical cards. The outages force us to ask, are we comfortable with our money and lives hinging on distant servers? We're all living on the same digital fault line. The lesson isn't to abandon technology, but to use it wisely. Outages will happen again, so build redundancy into your digital life. Don't rely on a single payment app. Have at least 2 options from different companies. Keep some cash and a physical card for emergencies. Download essential videos or documents for offline access. Diversify your sources for news and entertainment. Preparing for a digital blackout is about resilience, not paranoia. You don't need to be a tech expert, just have a backup plan. A little preparation means the next outage won't leave you stranded. Stay connected, but stay prepared. The digital world is powerful, but not infallible.